All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for podcast number 42.
The answer to everything.
Yes. And as you can see, we are in our MHA attire.
That means we will be talking about Corey in the House.
No, we are going to be talking about All Might.
Yes.
The greatest hero.
Indeed.
And we're going to be talking about why and what that means and who he means to us and to a specific character in the show.
Yes.
But before we do that, we have to shout out one of our VIP patrons, a very new one recently joining us, Lonely on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. It means
Great talking to you on the Discord.
Yes, it's awesome talking to you on the Discord. It's cool having like community there. It's just the best. So yeah. This podcast is about All Might.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of apropos because of what just happened recently.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this will have MHA spoilers. And if you have not seen MHA, what
are you doing with your life?
Go watch
I assume, Jacob, that based upon our channel, like MHA, but they're almost synonymous with each other.
This is the internet. It exists.
I know. But guys, we're going to be talking about specifically things that regard to All Might. So he is, in my opinion, the main reason why everyone needs to watch My Hero Academia.
Yeah, Deku is amazing too.
Not just Deku.
But I mean,
let's get into it, Jacob. So All Might is the symbol of peace.
Yeah, he's Superman and Captain America pushed into one, and it's actually amazing.
Right. So we're going to be talking about 4 things that we think make All Might the greatest hero. And we'll just break it down. So the first thing is the symbol of peace. Now, recently in the episode that we just got, we got actual backstory showing Toshinori Yagi, aka All Might, before he was the symbol of peace.
Why he chose to, why he basically realized, hey, I need to become this.
Right. And there's something really powerful when some individual looks at the greater community, the society as a whole, and says, there's a need for someone to do something impossible. I am going to do my best in order to do that thing. Now, this is a great thing to bring up. When he decides to be the pillar of society that people can look up to be essentially what ends up becoming the symbol of peace. He hasn't come up with those words in his mind yet.
He has no ability to actually make
no
that
quirk.
happen.
He has no quirk.
And that's the thing that makes this so amazing, right? Because the idea of the symbol of peace, that's incredible. That you don't have to worry about anything. I've got your back. I'm going to take care of all of it. Yeah. That's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that not only is he that, but he's also the symbol, the idea that you too can be a hero. Right. The idea that this was just the actions in the heart of one person who wanted to make a difference.
Yep.
And they were able to actually do that.
Right.
For so many people.
Yeah, and we don't know a lot of the details about his past, but we can see the effects of him being the symbol of peace in the present story. Right. One of the things that's very, very prevalent in hero society in Japan in the story of My Hero Academia is that the villains, they know All Might is there. Once he shows up, it's all over.
Right.
There are multiple times throughout the story where the villains are like, All Might is the only true threat. All Might is the only person we need to be scared of. Everything changed once that All Might guy showed up.
Right. The idea that it's even if he's not the only threat, none of the other threats matter by comparison.
Right. Right. All Might is essentially this deity that is either revered or feared.
He really is basically the god figure in MHA.
Right. And in a lot of ways, it's something that a lesser show could have taken and shown how he's not even human. He's just this he's just this symbol. Batman in a lot of ways does everything he can to be a symbol, and he sacrifices a lot of his humanity for it.
Right.
All Might is actually being a kind of a TV reality star to create the image of the symbol of peace.
Right.
But he actually lives it out.
Exactly.
He lives it out on the day-to-day basis.
It's so outlandish that you're this has to be a TV thing, and the way he presents it is, some reality TV or whatever. But it's no, this guy's actually real. We have proof. We see him do the things and stuff.
All the way down to his core. It is who he is.
He
really was the symbol of peace before he had the ability to be the symbol of peace.
Yep.
Now, we're going to get into that next. This is the whole thing of one for all and the theme of lineage in All Might's character.
Because, as much as you can want to be a hero and you still can do heroic things and all that stuff, the idea of, being the muscly back that all the villains just look at and say, and they tell scary stories about it around the campfire, right? That doesn't just happen. It is an amazing representation of basically the desires made manifest.
Yes.
To be a hero.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons it's so powerful.
Right.
But you need something to back it up.
And One for All as a quirk, even in the name, was decided is brilliant in the name because it's the hopes of one being basically given out for the benefit of all.
Right.
It's a very sacrificial quirk in a lot of ways because
when a good man goes to war.
Yeah, Devil's Run. Nice reference. But in this case, All Might, by deciding to receive the quirk from Nana Shimura, the previous One for All holder, he might not have known it at the time, but I think on some level he was communicated to by Nana that you're going to have a huge burden on you now. This is not something easy. You are not choosing the easy life.
Right.
In a lot of ways, MHA has shown us what happens when someone gets that amazing quirk that just makes their lives easy in a lot of ways. They can choose to go down a harder path for the purpose of growing themselves and strengthening themselves and such, but very few people choose that path.
Right.
It's almost as if fate just kind of drops it on them.
It's the idea that the reason we think so highly of the idea of heroes is because they do the things that no one else will do.
Right. Even they make those choices.
They make those choices. Even among other people with superpowers or quirks, right?
Yes.
They still do that thing that other people would be like, why would you do that? Because of the struggle, all the things that they have to go through because of that decision they made. And they don't go back on their decision. They stick with it.
Yeah, and imagine having this much power and handling it with the humility and basically the humanity of someone that's not going to lord it over someone, who's not going to take it and use it as a means to just get their selfish needs met.
Right. If you were to take the idea of like Superman on one end of the spectrum, right, and then like supervillain on the other end of the spectrum, right? Just generic supervillain or whatever, right? Well, the reason people don't like Superman is because there's no struggle, right? And that's displayed in his powers, but it's also displayed most of the time in his character. The idea that he's the good guy, he does the good thing, he stands up for what's right, and never seems to have much of an issue.
Now, we don't want to go too deep into DC stuff because we know there's many iterations of the Superman character, but our point is about the essentially the character who has ascended past humanity and no longer deals with human struggles or really human choices. It makes it difficult for us to relate to them, but also it makes it difficult for us to say that's my hero. You then look at them and go, oh my god, I have to just like bow my head in reverence because you don't even really understand it fully. All Might makes himself personable for the aspect of carrying the lineage of One for All. But he also does this specifically because he is a man. He is someone that was essentially found a really like lucky opportunity for him to be in the same place as Nana Shimura, and was gifted One for All not because of his abilities or even really luck in that case, because he had prepared his mindset for essentially being ready for something like this, even though he didn't know this opportunity would exist. And then in that moment, the world was changed forever.
Because when you think about heroes, right, the reason someone will become our hero is because we say, I want to be like that person. Right? And the fact that there's, all this, so much more to All Might than just being the strong man that beats the bad guys, right? Because there's the struggle and everything in there, that makes us be able to say, no, that guy is a hero. Just like Deku, I want to be like All Might.
And we'll get into that part in a little bit here, but with specifically the idea that he was passed down something that gave him the ability to do something that he wanted to do, even though it was impossible. So once he gets the ability, One for All, he is now a part of a lineage. He is now a part of basically this group of people that have been burdened with the task of protecting Hero Society from All for One. Now, you need to be prepped and everything. You need to be trained in order to do this. But in that training, in that preparation, you end up solidifying that which you believed out of mostly, I would say, out of just your own hopes and dreams and aspirations.
Ideals.
You didn't have concrete evidence to support that this was even something that was yours.
Right. You
could
weren't
just
living it out because you didn't have the ability to live it out at that point.
So once these people come around All Might, like Gran Torino and Nana Shimura, they're able to help build in foundation deep into All Might's belief system so that we can see the end result of this towering man that is the pillaring, image of saving everyone with a smile.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into this next bit here, which is the part that truly makes All Might the greatest hero.
Yeah.
And this is what you've been hinting at.
This is the fact that there's the drawback. He's not just Superman. There is struggle. There's the wound, right?
The frailty. All Might's actual wound.
The idea
that
he is actively pushing his body to the point where you're thinking, is this going to kill him one day? Right? In order to continue to be that symbol for everybody.
Right.
In order to be people's hero. In order to make it so that people can smile without a care in the world because they know he's here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that decision being made over and over and over again in the story. This is shown on screen. I will tell you, it makes so much more of a difference to see it being done by the actions of the person than to hear some random passerby talk about how they do that.
Exactly. Yep.
This person always saves us with a smile. When do we see that? No. In All Might, it's all evident. It's all there. It's all present. He constantly throughout the story makes sacrifices for characters that it's like, okay, we get that this is what you're supposed to do, but All Might, geez, you're a little crazy sometimes. You need to be a little bit more realistic. You need to be a little bit more practical.
Exactly.
You are injured. You could die here. But who cares? This is who I am.
Exactly. And they take that idea of the paragon, right? And they add a contradiction.
Yes.
And by doing that, because he's such an extreme, because he is Superman and Captain America put together with this contradiction of I am on the way out.
I am on the way out.
And even that whole bit in the first few episodes where he starts to doubt himself and he starts to forget, who he is as the symbol of peace and what it really means to be a hero.
Yep.
That makes it mean so much more. The fact that all those times when he fights the Nomu or fights, All for One or whatever, he's pushing himself past his limits in a concrete, visible, measurable way where you're saying, you are going to lose this.
Yeah. Yeah. It really helps us as people who, just like anyone else viewing this, really enjoy the idea of a good hero, like a really good hero, someone that you can look up to.
Right.
But when you actually see a fictional character in this case, exemplifying almost nigh perfectly the tenets of what it means to be a great hero or the greatest hero, despite all the weaknesses and the frailty and the doubts and all that.
Being a great man while also being a good one.
Right, yes, exactly. It's inspiring. It's truly something where I would say almost on some level our uncanny valley stuff starts to set in and we go, this can't be real. This can't, there has to be some other thing going on behind here. Every chance we get to see what is going on behind the scenes with All Might, we begin to relate with him even more. We begin to connect with him even more because we see a man who's doing his best.
Right. We see a man. That's the point.
Yes.
We don't see some god,
some demigod of just
where it's like
pure paragon of light.
I guess you're
shaken.
amazing and okay, that's cool. You exist, right? But we can't identify with that. We can't hope to be that because that's so beyond beyond us, right?
Right. If anything, we can't even really be saved by something like that. To bring it into the kind of the meta philosophy thing here. All Might is, as a hero, is someone who saves people, who goes out and saves people. This recent episode brought up something very important here, is you don't just save people, you save their hearts.
Yep.
And the thing about that is that when you save someone's heart, is you basically give them an opportunity to shift.
Right.
You basically go and whatever you are about, whatever you are expressing, goes deep into their core and it unlocks something. And the whole thing about My Hero Academia is, what does it mean to be a hero? All Might is supposed to be a picture of what it means to be a hero.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, he struggles and fails to communicate exactly what it means to be a hero. And in those moments, he realizes that I'm not doing that. I need to shift things so that I am saving people's hearts and I'm not just punching bad guys.
Exactly.
And when he makes that shift, the story goes to heights that other superhero-related stuff, because we are saturated with superhero stuff right now, can only dream about, like, tapping into.
Diamonds are made beautiful by their imperfections, right?
Yeah, and constantly getting, like,
same thing
aggravated.
with... Oh, well, yeah, that too.
Deep pressure.
Yeah, being put under pressure, right? Same thing with characters. Especially when you have someone that's a good person, right? It works with anti-heroes too, as the reverse. Yeah. It's not the bad things they do; it's those times when they show that, oh no, they do some good things too, right?
Right.
With All Might, when you have something like, when you're dealing with something like a Superman Captain America combo, the imperfections
mean so much more.
So much more.
So who do these imperfections get displayed to, and who on some level do they not as often get displayed to? Because there's a unique relationship there. Well, with Deku being the primary protagonist, the main character of the story, the kind of the viewpoint for the story, as it will, for the most part, you get to see a very different view and side of All Might. Now, the thing is that All Might, as we mentioned in the beginning, is the symbol of peace. But he is not the symbol of peace to the individual. He's the symbol of peace to everyone. But when you actually have an individual connection with All Might, he is something more.
Right, but here's the thing. Deku, this is one of the reasons why it's so important. The fact that All Might is the symbol of peace, that would not be able to be communicated to us without Deku. They can have all the parts where they show other people looking up to All Might and stuff like that, but if they had that without first us having seen how much Deku looks up to All Might, it wouldn't really mean anything. We'd just be like, oh, they're just harping on the same, idea, whatever, cool. But the fact that they were able to show, because, okay, for a symbol, right, it's for the masses, right?
Yeah.
But the masses are comprised of
individuals,
people, individuals, right? Yeah. And it's the idea that symbol means something to the masses, but it's just a bunch of people, a bunch of individuals where it inspires them, it moves them. It basically, you're all that person's hero. Names, faces, families, friends.
And because Deku gets special access, essentially, to All Might, because he is going to be his protege, he is going to be the successor to All Might. He has the aspect of getting one for all, getting the lineage, getting the knowledge about All Might's frailty and his wound.
All the mentoring that All Might does with him, of telling him what being a hero is all about.
In a way, he gets to see All Might for who he truly is. Now, this is something very rare in stories, to have the main kind of unbeatable hero have someone who truly sees them for who they are. Right. All of it. Now, obviously, Deku doesn't know everything, but the story, as they've been kind of hinting at, there's going to be moments where Deku will learn more and more. But with where we're at right now, Deku has such a connection with All Might that it's borderline one of those kind of father-mentor figure kind of roles.
It's what the mentor figure is supposed to be.
Exactly. So in these pivotal moments where Deku starts off and he's doubting himself, and All Might's needing to be reminded, and they remind each other, they essentially save each other. The whole relationship from then on out actually then just goes back and forth between them saving each other in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Not just All Might teaching Deku, but Deku teaching All Might.
And the fact that Deku is the perspective character is such a big deal.
Yes.
Because you could have a character like Deku in another story, right?
Right.
Where it's the person that the hero can be weak around and show the imperfections around and all that stuff.
Like a romantic love interest or something.
Or it could be the same thing where they have their protege, right?
Sure.
But if that protege is not the perspective character, the audience isn't going to have that same perspective of the hero that the protege does, right?
Yep.
The fact that they make Deku the perspective character does so much so that we can have All Might be our hero too.
Right. In a lot of ways, Deku is is similar in importance to All Might in the story. But when it comes to being a hero, Deku has based his entire template, everything of what it means to be a hero from this guy, All Might. Now the thing is, as Deku has this give and take relationship with All Might, he starts to see All Might is a human being. All Might isn't good at teaching. All Might is somewhat a little bit too eager to thrust Deku onto the stage. All Might makes mistakes. All Might has people that he has to give Deku to in order to teach. He has to account for his own weaknesses. Deku then goes through this phase where he realizes, I actually worship All Might a bit more than I should. But the thing is that doesn't discount what All Might means to him on an emotional, individual level. So when we had the recent episode in 311, where All Might basically makes the broad statement to society, you're next, all that. When Deku hears it, he hears something extremely personal. He realizes that it's his time. But the thing is, he begins to cry, and we were crying as well. But like, you begin to realize that Deku, in some way, like, he needs All Might, but he's realizing that All Might's telling him that you don't necessarily need me.
It's your turn to stand.
It's your turn to stand. Yes, it's stand not necessarily alone, but stand at the front. To stand at the front and bear this burden. What there is though in there is this idea that despite the idea of him being the symbol of peace, having one for all, and the lineage of that being passed down, having the blows of villains bared upon him, and just bloodied a messy, took all for one down. He did all these incredible things, and Deku's like, God, how can I live up to this? All Might's like, that's okay. You don't have to. It's your turn.
Exactly.
You are next.
The idea that All Might was this amazing hero, right? But the fact that Deku also saw him at his weak points, he saw how he failed and how he made mistakes and all that stuff. That makes it so that while he's like, this is an incredibly daunting task that the main character should have when the mentor is, is not the mentor anymore, when they're on their way out. But he also can think back on all those times where he's like, no, All Might was just a person. He made mistakes just like me. If he was able to make mistakes and still be the symbol of peace, he was still able to help all those people. Then I can too.
And oh my gosh, and the way just to talk about Deku for a little second, you see that because he looked up to All Might, he treats other people in the same way he thinks, because of his perception of All Might in being a lot of ways a little bit overblown. How he thinks All Might would treat them. So he saves Todoroki. He saves Ida. Not the
saving
person,
the life,
the heart,
but saving the heart.
Exactly.
Yes.
So he goes deep. He goes to Kota. He sees basically the downtrodden, the beaten down. He sees the outcasts and stuff, and he goes for them. In a lot of ways, Deku is portrayed emotionally and in a couple other senses as being kind of the underdog coming and getting the boon from the hero. But actually, when you think about it, Deku has left the underdog stage a long time ago. He is now the person looking out for the underdog, going and taking them and lifting them up the same way All Might did before he actually had the ability, and it perpetuates the lineage without even passing one for all. So Deku and All Might together make My Hero Academia, but it all starts with All Might. In this case, the story doesn't want to go back before that, and that's okay. I think for simplicity's sake,
that's a good idea.
It's a great idea. So starting with All Might and showing that he had the idea to be the pillar for society, to be this impossible thing. It's emotional. It's powerful.
Here's another thing to think about. Okay,
what's that?
Let's say All Might didn't exist. Let's say Deku had this dream of being a hero. And then suddenly he gets told, no, you're quirkless. It's never going to happen. What do you think would have happened to Deku's dream? All Might saved Deku's heart. Like it wasn't just that he saved him from the slime monster.
Who knows? He might have given in to bullying.
Not
becoming a bully, but he might have given in to Kachan's bully and just shut down.
He might have taken that swan dive at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. like the things like this that happen, and the fact that we can see the positive effect that All Might has on other people, and the positive effect that those people in turn can have on other people.
The rippling effect.
The rippling effect. That is what it means to be a hero. That is what makes All Might the greatest hero.
Well said. Way to cap it off. So guys, if you've come this far and you still haven't watched MHA,
what are you
doing? What are you doing? I think on some levels, the people that aren't watching MHA because it looks like a oversimplified shonen, I totally understand you. If you watch our first episode's reaction, I was like, yeah, this is probably some kind of just, another shonen. I'm going in here with a little bit of,
guarded.
Yeah, I'm guarding my heart, and expectations and stuff. But no, by like episode 2 and 3, I was already like this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we cried on the first episode.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard the hype or whatever, the show is amazing. Go check it out. And All Might, in some ways, carries this show even further beyond Plus Ultra to being not just a good shonen, but like a great shonen.
Not just shonen. Show.
Yeah, great story. Yes. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Question time.
Yes, so we're going to be getting into Q&A questions here.
Right. Leave any questions for the next podcast in the comments of this one. We'll try and get to those.
Yep.
We're going to be going through these a little bit fast because
there are a lot of them. You guys are getting pretty active here. It's awesome.
Venue. Which video games are your favorites and which characters are the best written from any game you've played so far? The Last of Us. The simple character dynamic between Ellie and Joel is amazing. I haven't played the game, but I watched the walkthrough, and it like stayed up till 3:30. Started at 11:30, stayed up till 3:30, and I was like, that was the best decision ever. So good.
Yeah. I have got to say that I haven't actually played too many video games. If I had to go by favorites just in terms of all times, I really rate them around the similar bit. The KOTOR series is just fantastic because I'm a sucker for Star Wars. But Kreia in KOTOR 2 is one of the best written Star Wars characters in existence.
Yeah.
She is something else. So if you haven't played KOTOR, play it. It's on Steam. But if you play KOTOR 2, make sure you get the Telos Restoration mod so you get the full game experience.
That's included on Steam.
Yeah. It is, but you sometimes have to manually unlock it and stuff. All right, next question's from Cuxon, or Queen, that's right.
I've noticed that when it comes to romantic relationships, mostly in animation, that the end goal is two people getting into a relationship, but I want to develop a relationship from two characters getting together and going through some of the trials of what it's like to be in one.
Yeah,
why do you think some writers make it the end goal? Is it too difficult to write?
Yes, it is too difficult to write a lot of the times, but another time also is that there's a very real stigma in TV shows and stuff like that we want to kind of like, ooh, what's gonna happen and who's gonna end up with who?
It's the fact that conflict is what makes stories, right? So when you go into a relationship, right, there can be the conflict, but a lot of times that isn't as interesting because you're like, okay, these people will probably stay together.
Right.
Status quo remains status quo.
Well, the other thing is that the type of conflict they generally go into when they're in relationships is melodrama.
Yes.
And melodrama is a very easy trap to write badly.
Yep.
So don't write bad melodrama, write good melodrama, and you can totally make it work.
Look at Firefly. Wash and Zoe and Firefly are a great example.
Great example. Sarah Webb.
What made you guys decide to make YouTube videos?
We just decided that we liked Ruby and we should record ourselves reacting to it.
There wasn't really why not? Let's try it. Yeah.
I was like, why not?
And
Tim Gelhaus asks, when did Avatar: The Last Airbender become more than a good kids show for you and ascend to one of your favorite shows? The Storm.
Yeah.
Episode 3 gave us the hint that it was going to be that kind of a show.
At episode 3, Zuko was my favorite character at that point, and I was like, ooh, this is really good. We have an antagonist that's my favorite character. And then the storm happened, and it's just like...
It doesn't hurt also that the blue spirit happens directly after the storm. I think also there's a dramatic shift from the episode prior to the storm, which is the worst episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, is that the Great Divide?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it just feels like just one of those perfect episodes.
Also, Winter Solstice Part 2 was a really good one.
Yes, that was good for world building purposes.
Little Duck is writing a story without any clear idea of where it's going a good idea. Just taking a group of characters and writing situations for them to interact in. Almost discovering the story as you go. Or should that method be considered for writing practice? Okay,
so Hunter x Hunter uses this style.
Yes, it absolutely
does. Hunter x
Hunter
uses discovery-based storytelling, and they do a very good job. The thing about it, though, it is terrifying to try and write discovery-based storytelling and maintain any semblance of cohesion from the plot, like way far into the future. I was going to say the reason why Hunter x Hunter does it well is because they contain things within arcs, and they keep the story very character-focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ongoing serialized formats tends to make this easier. One of the other ones that I would say is a really good example of this is ReZero. But usually when you have stories where you write them like this, the ending is really tough to do because you haven't been planning for an ending. So I personally like to do more outline-based stuff.
Same here. Bakugoat is angry. This series I'm working on has 7 main characters. How do I keep them all interesting and make it so I can give them equal screen time? Well, the equal screen time might need to be fudged a bit.
Right. One of the things I would say is that the only time that you can really make them equal main characters, I would say, is when you do some sort of like epic saga thing where you have, you do a George R.R. Martin, right?
Right. You shift the focus around constantly.
And I'm guessing this is your first, like, you haven't published something yet, so I would say don't do that.
No.
So my story has 6 main characters, or 7. But there is a clear main character, right? It changes perspective sometimes, and you get to see the other characters and get up close to them, but it still has a main character.
Right. I would say keep things focused and try not to go as extravagant on the characters.
Ooh, and don't do 7 separate plots.
Yes. Keep all these characters together. You'll be thankful you did that. Momo Yarozo, how much money would you take minimum to be called Jaleb for the rest of your lives? Yes, both of you. Okay, how much money? I don't know.
$1 million.
No, it's $1 million. Well, the thing is that Jacob and I are working together. But, our lives don't completely revolve around each other.
Right.
So we have our own passions and stuff like that. So if we just happen to be brothers named the same way, that's not the end of the world.
I mean...
okay. People are already mixing our names up to begin with, so... Right. And they don't even know I have a brother named Jacob.
Exactly.
They're just
crazy.
Oh, you're Jacob, right? I'm like, oh, God, no.
It's
my name
really
is Caleb.
funny. We have been having this happen our entire lives. With people that do not know we have a brother named Jacob or Caleb.
So not a lot, really.
Yeah, but...
no, it would be a lot, but not $1 million. Okay. Next question's from Kurai Haini. How
how interested are you in how the anime industry works, and what part of it do you want to know about the most? Actual animation, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know much around the whole animation side of things. So what part do I want to know the most is actually kind of the screenplay stuff, because when I think about anime screenplay, it's got to be similar to live action stuff. But the thing is that you actually use drawings in the end result. So is the screenplay a separate thing that's more basic just to show the flow of things and how it can be directed?
Probably just need to watch Shirobako.
I guess I need to watch Shirobako, right? That's the one that talks about how anime is made.
Anime. This is what I would actually want to know. I would want to know how exactly is it that they figure out what is the next light novel they're going to be making an anime out of. Because, it's not that tough to make. It's better than a lot of the ones out there get adapted in my mind, so, yeah.
All right, next question is from Lex the Graceful Rival. What are some good ways to handle massive morality shifts of characters?
For general questions, you get general answers.
Yeah.
I would say focus on it, spend time on it.
Yeah.
Have it be something that really affects them. If it's something that's an about turn,
the before and the after.
Yeah,
so in the before you foreshadow it. In the middle, you deal with it. And the end, you have repercussions. You have actual consequences.
And you make it so that the stuff that happened before still happened, right?
Yes.
If someone goes from good to being bad, people might not necessarily like them, even though they're helping out now. Or if someone goes from good to bad, well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Tanya, the future writer, asks, "Hi, thank you for answering my question. It helped a lot. Here's another. Who are your inspirations when it comes to writing?"
One of the big ones a while back is love Tolkien, right? That was one of the ones that got me wanting to write. But Christopher Paolini, because it's this dude started writing Aragon when he was 15, finished when he was 19. The fact that he had 2 parents in the publishing industry is beside the point.
Yeah.
He did it. Like,
regardless of whether or not the books were really much good as terms of fantasy,
they were fun.
They were fun. But yeah, I would say actually say
crap.
Christopher Paolini was important to me because I didn't really like the books as much as I got older.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is that the idea that he started when he was 15.
Yeah, it's like,
I just believed that I could do anything if he did that. Mine are both of you, as it's because of you two I was able to continue storytelling even when people said I shouldn't, so thank you for that. Oh, that's so awesome! Tanya the future writer! Believe in the us that believes in you!
Plus ultra!
Mikey asks, so what kind of potential does Dabi have as a character? Lots.
Yeah,
because if he's Dabi Todoroki, or if Dabi is a code name for the Todoroki combined with maybe his first name or something like that, that would be really cool.
Although I feel like apart from that, they'll need to do more for him personality wise, because right now we haven't really seen much of him as far as
but we're talking about potential. We're talking about potential.
Yeah.
I see a lot, and the main reason why I actually see a lot is because recently with this whole like kind of
MHA has a lineage, like,
well no like All Might and like the lineage thing, but All Might moving out of the story, that kind of puts Endeavor into this awkward place of being the biggest hero.
Oh, right. Which
if Endeavor gets a story focus at all, it makes more sense that his family would. So you see how the cookie crumbles. Next question: Which of the villains would you like to see join the hero's side?
Okay,
Kurogiri.
Yes.
Kurogiri.
I think we talked.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a long time. Is that Kurogiri might not be as obligated to be with Shigaraki, or we might find out why he's with Shigaraki, and that could show a way that he could change. If Best Jeanist actually survives, do we really have any reason to fear for a character's life on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. You're right, but I have noticed a trend towards the show becoming darker. So here's how they can do this. They can slow burn out the dark kind of turn. Like, they can slow burn it out. Like, the thing that happened with Ragdoll was pretty intense and pretty scary.
Yeah.
The thing that happened with Best Jeanist was a display of violence on a level that we hadn't seen in My Hero Academia since Stain. And Stain, even then, they didn't show it as much.
Right.
Jeanist got one-shotted.
He had a hole in his chest.
He had his stomach blown out.
Only a Tetsukata Karasaki gun is supposed to save you at that point. Like...
Dagnabbit, Jacob, shut up. I don't want to hear that crap in my... Okay, so yes, it hurts the chances of us fearing for a character's life a lot, but I still think My Hero Academia will keep the trend moving things darker as the show matures.
Paul C., what did you like most about Mistborn? The power system was really cool. It was also one of the things that... Okay, this was one of the things that I thought was really good. So, a lot of times when I read books now, I can get kind of, like, depressed because it'll be, like, such polish on their prose. I'm just like, how? Right? But...
Mistborn seemed attainable, right?
Mistborn was like...
Because it was written a while ago.
It was written a while ago. And I'm like, I can do this. Like it'll take a lot of editing and stuff, but, like, yeah, I can do this. But there were still those, like, I could see, like, oh, yeah, here are these awesome things that he was able to do. Even though I found some parts of the book a little bit boring, I could see the gems, and I'm like, okay, yes, yeah.
That's awesome.
Can do this. All right.
Bakugoat is angry. Another question. It says 3 favorite tropes and 3 least favorite tropes. Let's just sum total.
Sister. Oh, that's least favorite, by the way.
Yeah, least favorite for sure. One of my least favorite tropes in particular is when characters do something for the purpose of... This isn't really a trope, but it's basically... Let's do a specific one. Where basically a character's intelligence is sacrificed for another character's development.
Or exposition.
Or just exposition or what have you.
Yeah.
There's a trope specifically with the kind of the perv characters. We can take like Mineta, for example.
Sure.
There's a part in MHA where he tricks the smartest girl in the class in order to wearing revealing attire because it's a trope that's in a lot of shows that are like anime and stuff. And that bugs me because I don't believe that Momo is that intelligent now. So
and she's supposed to be the super smart one.
And
like
I've seen her be super smart.
And I get that she might be a little bit gullible, maybe, but I mean, come on.
Yeah. One of my favorite tropes is basically just the mentor figure. I love the mentor figure, and that's I mean, it's relevant because we're talking about All Might and stuff like that. But my favorite character in animation of all time is Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, like
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that trope.
Like Iroh, Kamina, Reagan,
Broskandar. Like, we have the list that goes on. It's just fantastic. Even Izumi Curtis from like Full Alchemist Brotherhood. It doesn't have to be a whole bunch of macho guys too.
Trope that I love. The tsundere grandpa.
Oh, yes, we've talked about that.
I generally just love actually tsunderes when they're done well. Tsundere grandpas being one of the
yes, you are
examples.
A sucker for tsunderes.
Yeah.
That's a series, Sucker for Tsunderes, you know?
Sun Tzu.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's just go to the next question.
We gave a few. All right, Vraycause. How important are the visual appearances of characters, especially in books where you have to fill in a lot of the blanks yourself, and how do you determine the appearance of characters you create?
Whoa, good question. So how important it is, it varies. Because one of the things that... I've seen is that when you have a third person kind of omniscient storyline, I would say it's a little bit more important for the visuals because you have probably a larger cast. When it's first person, you're kind of doing it through their perception, so it's not
you don't have to think about how they look as much necessarily as they might think about how that person looks. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it just depends, really.
Casting
but how do we do it?
Casting people in your mind as characters can help a lot.
Oh, genius!
Like that's.
I'm
just
taking
that
writing notes
can be
on that.
helpful.
That's a good idea.
But for books, it's kind of weird because it's not as. A lot of times, it's not as big of a deal as with anime because it's not like we have to make this person the best girl. So
sure,
white hair and and a blush on their cheeks or whatever.
So I used to make NPCs for fun in tabletop RPGs. So the way I would come up with the appearances for the characters generally was I would transport myself into the mind of a PC wanting to play this NPC and be like, how would I want this character to look just to be cool? And that's a pretty simple, basic thing, and it didn't work all the time with the visuals, but a good percentage of the time, I was happy with them.
Another thing you can do that can kind of spawn the character themselves is just think of something that would be really, bizarre, something that would stand out, and what would be the thing that someone would notice of this person if they passed them on the street, right? If they've got, like, really big, like, ponytails or something like that, and
that's where the main character syndrome look came in animes.
Exactly.
They ran with that, and then they didn't want to invest that effort into all the side characters.
Yeah.
So Lex the Graceful Rival asks, what are some smart ways to use the ambiguity of the protagonist's main character title, leaving the reader with uncertainty who the main character is? Any examples?
Well, anytime you have like an epic fantasy type thing where there's a bunch of different characters, but
I would say other than that though, you have to have the squad. And when you have the squad, it's pretty obvious sometimes who the main character is just by the charisma of that character.
You can do something, though, where it's like dual main characters, right? But even then, you'll usually have the perspective characters. Right. So that's kind of tough.
I actually would say that recently, A Place for the New Universe has done a very good job of splitting up the roles of a main character within the four girls. But you can tell which ones of them are more main characters than others. So there is that. So it's tough.
Ruby did a pretty they did a pretty good job with this. Not like a stellar job, but there were a lot of points where Ruby sort of faded to the background as a main character, and let other people take the spotlight. But that kind of got into the epic fantasy sort of style.
Yeah. Ethereal Reader asks, how do you write character development for a character that is going through a drastic change, but still avoid it being too obvious or cliche for the readers? So a drastic change, like take Zuko's conundrum of deciding how he wants to handle his future.
You invest time in the conflict, right? Because if you're not wanting it to be obvious, that means you're talking about something that goes over a long period of time, right?
Right.
So you basically have to get the person invested in the character beforehand, so that way, as they're deliberating and as they're not making an immediate decision right away, they're on board with it because they care about this character.
Yeah. Fangirl for Eternity asks, what are your opinions on shipping? Do you ship Todoroki and Momo? Well, shipping, we occasionally are like, oh, oops, I started shipping all of a sudden. Oh, well.
We aren't like avid shippers, but we do.
We'll do it every once in a while. Yeah. And do we ship Todoroki and Momo? It's a good ship.
I mean,
it's not a great ship.
That
but it's...
Mustang Hawkeye fan art is just too good to deny.
Yeah, someone shared that on our Discord, and that was really good.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Next question's from Summer Looney.
As someone who wants to cover some taboo character dynamics in their story, such as multiple character romances, different sexualities, mental illnesses, interacting, and abusive platonic relationships, do you think there is a way to avoid going too far and seeing your vision for an emotional situation taken for how you intended and not feared by the readers for its content or intensity?
Okay.
That is a heavy-duty question.
That is a very good question. I would say that one of the things that is very important, I would say, is to
make the audience get to know the characters,
yes,
and then make there be contradictions so that it's not just an overload of that one thing.
I think you need a perspective character actually for this story to make it simpler. I'm trying to find a way to make it easier because this seems like something that's very doable.
Like they're wanting multiple tough things to work with, combine, interacting with
but
each
if you have essentially one person who has their issues, and there can be multiple of them, but they're reacting to some of the other issues, you can essentially cleverly cut some corners to where you don't have to go in depth into the ones that you're not as comfortable with.
Sure.
So you can have them there and have the interactions and the character dynamics, because those characters will exist. They will be actual characters, but you can't give the same investment into it. I look to A Silent Voice as a great example of how to handle this type of stuff. But the thing is that only handles like 3.
Well, and
this seems like some of those aren't directly connecting to that.
And okay, here's what I would say: if you've got plot setting and characters for the 3 tenets of a story, this is going to mainly focus on the characters, and then also plot because of the characters. The characters are the story, as Miyazaki says, right? So I would say hold off on the setting, and even with the plot, make it simpler. Make it still focus on the characters, but make it simple. That way, you have the time to really do it justice.
I agree. CRM QSEC or GSEC asks, do you know and could recommend shows other than Ruby that use their OST as a foreshadowing storytelling device? Do you want to read this or do you want me to read this?
You go.
Or as a means to tell something about certain characters that the actual show has yet to explain? More importantly, do you think that a show would need to meet certain requirements, complexity, length, depth of characters, etc., to successfully make use of said device? Okay, so have I seen this? Yes, very rarely. This is a very specific medium that would use this type of thing. I can't think of any immediately off the top of my head, because the thing is, Ruby does it in such a way to where you could swear that this song is about a specific character.
Right.
And most of the time you're right. Yeah. But a lot of other times you're like, holy crap, this is like 7 of the characters. And what I've seen specifically with shows that kind of blend their OST in with some way in the story and stuff is that you have to hit on the themes within the OST, not necessarily directly a character.
Right, you don't want to be giving exposition in songs.
Well, the thing is that that's how intense Ruby can get sometimes. You are literally getting the sense that you're getting backstory on Ruby's mom in Red Like Roses Part 2. You're like, holy crap, this is like actual exposition. People are like writing notes and being like, oh my gosh.
And you do probably need to have it be something that's long if you want there to be foreshadowing, because that means you're releasing songs, multiple sets of songs, for a show. So that's, complexity.
So I don't know that any that we could recommend off the top of our heads.
Yeah, Ruby's probably the best example of that.
Yeah, and those are what he mentioned are kind of the requirements that you would need for a show to do this successfully.
Yeah.
So the main thing I think would be is having a good, express
like ongoing,
OST,
serialized,
a lot of stuff there,
but just good characters,
and then just good characters.
Songs to be about,
Arxevius asks, Caleb, what is your passion, job, career goal? Okay, so I have never truly done the thing that I actually want to do as like a job, passion, career goal for money ever. And that is really just to be someone's like coach, someone's mentor. I really love the whole thing of getting one-on-one with a person and encouraging them and coaching them and just being their like extra pair of eyes, their guide, if you will, and just being someone that's there mostly as a supportive role. Like I don't want to like imprint anything from me onto them that would change their thing, if you will. But in a lot of ways, how you have this idea of the daily dose of comedy and stuff, I really want to tap into that in a lot of ways as well. through connection. So that's it, yeah. So that's actually all the questions.
All right.
We did it a little bit out of order.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for submitting your questions. Please leave your questions that you think would be great for us to answer in the comments below, and we will answer them in a future podcast. I wanted to give you guys a little teaser for those of you that stuck around this long. So Jacob is going to be Anime Expo
in
very
Anime
soon.
Expo, yeah, LA, in early July.
But that means that there will be one podcast missing, 2 podcasts from now.
Yeah.
And when that podcast would have gone, I will be doing a special live stream.
Really?
Details to come soon.
But not the next podcast, the podcast one after that.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, if if any interests you, check that out.
Show them some love.
Yeah. But we'll see you later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.